Here we are, Yukimura's last battle. You can see this beautiful illustrated cover. This is a game that I found inside this magazine. It's a magazine from Bonsai Game, a Japanese magazine that is the equivalent of a C3I, a Victis. You can see here a bunch of games that they are talking about inside in the articles. This is from 2021. So it's an old one. It's a Japanese. Unfortunately, I don't read Japanese. I wish, but I don't. But a friend of mine, very special thanks to Andrea Pavan, an Italian friend, that translated for me the rules. So eventually I can explain you a little how the game works and enjoy it by myself. So this is a two-player wargame, an X-Encounter wargame, as you can see. And the theme is the Summer Siege of Osaka, the battles of Tennoji and Okayama that happened on 1615. One player will be responsible of the Toyotomi side, the Western Army, and the other player will be responsible of the Tokugawa side. The Eastern Army is referred to as the Eastern Army in the game. This is, you can see, a small war game because it's played on a 17 per 11 inch map. Why Sanada Yukimura? Because Yukimura, represented on this beautiful illustrated counter, was one of the leaders in the Toyotomi side. Let's have a little look on the map. As you can see, I already set up the game. So we have all these colorful counters. All the counters in a color, in the same color, belongs to the same formation. All formations generally have a leader represented by the name in red, which indicates it's also a captain, important leader, and we have the number on the center, which is the defense. The defense in red represents also the fact that he is a general, a samurai, so very important for the formation, and their morale. Morale, guys, is a very important aspect of the game. We have on the edge of the map this track. The number here are in Japanese, but I can tell you this is a 0, the middle point. From here we have a series of numbers for the Toyotomi, and here for the Ieyasu side. So he has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the moral track. Here we can see we have this marker that can be in one side or in favor of the other. Currently, this one with the Tokugawa side up is showing that the Tokugawa army, the Eastern Army, is demoralized because it was the last side to suffer a loss or has been forced to retreat or choose to retreat. When a counter suffers a loss, you flip it, so it becomes disorganized. And its values changes, obviously. It's like a step loss. So when you take a step loss, the other faction will increase the morale by 1. And in this case, Toyotomi was the last side will suffer a loss. So you also turn up the counter in the Toyotomi side to represent that is the last of two players that has been demoralized. The purpose of being the last to be demoralized is that you will go first on each phases of a turn that we explain later. Talking about victory condition instead, you can win by the end of the 6th turn of the game. The game lasts 6 turns, represented in this track here. At the end of the 6th turn, you win if you have the higher morale. So in this case, Tokugawa will win because it's 1 in favor of Tokugawa. But you can also win early, immediately, if you can pass these markers on one side or on the others. This is like the army overall integrity, morale. When an army loses one of their leader, represented again by the red defense value here in the middle, or the red name for showing that is also a captain, this one will decrease toward the center, so it's easier for the other faction to win because they need a lower moral advantage, as you can guess. The morale is also very, very important because depending where the marker is on this track, it will show also with the Arab numbers here, the number of activation that the Western army, so the Toyotomi side, will have in a turn. The number of the Tokugawa, the Eastern army activation, instead is represented by the current turn. So in turn 1 it will have 1 activation, turn 2 activation, and so on and so on. So it's very important. Speaking of activation, the games has these cheats, but it isn't a cheat pool system, it's a cheat selection system. So you will have all your cheats. At the start of your turn, you simply decide which formation to activate, and to show it, you turn it face down. So activate the Sanada, the red faction, and the violet faction, which is over there. And the Tokugawa faction will have theirs. The sides are also very different, because generally the Tokugawa has a lot more troops, also a lot of leaders. They also have to rely in checking command range a lot, which the Toyotomi side will not. The Toyotomi side generally has fewer units, but they are more flexible, because they can move with lesser worries than the Tokugawa. And also they have this Ronin, the yellow faction here, that always activate no matter what the number of activation on the mortal track shows. Over the course of the game, and also the Tokugawa will have these reinforcements. If the Toyotomi side will go up towards their goal, the Tokugawa will have this clan that will enter over here. They will also have other enforcement over there. Other victory condition, but they are very, very difficult, I think, is for the Toyotomi army. Just try to break through a frontal assault in the Tokugawa general quarters. If you can get some troops over there, there's a special phase in the end of the turn where you can check if you manage to kill Tokugawa. In that case, you win immediately, or some other results like a failment or other things. In a specific table rolling dice. Dice, guys, in the game are 10-sided dice. Toyotomi also has to defend the city, the way to Osaka. The Tokugawa army can also reach this border of the map and break through, exit from the map from there, to symbolize that they directly attack, assault the city, the castle of Osaka, and Toyotomi Daiori loses the will to fight, and the army disbands and they immediately win. The other way that Tokugawa, the Eastern Army, can win the game is from eliminating the Sanada clan from the battle, which is the red one. They have to eliminate their leaders, our Sanada Yukimura, and these two, not this one with the yellow number here on the attack value. This represents that the unit is equipped with fire weapons, with guns. Let's talk a little bit about the values. They are simply attack, defense, and movement. The game is fairly simple on this point of view. You move on the map, you consider the terrain you're walking in, but as you can see, the most of the map are plains, so the only thing that matters are hills. If you are walking up hills, costs you 2 movement instead of 1, or if you are crossing a river without a bridge, 2 movement instead of 1. No other limitation. There are zoks in the 6 hexagon adjacent to a unit, like in other games. Enemy zok, zone of controls, simply stop your movement. You can exit if you start your movement in an enemy zok, but when you enter another zok, you have to stop. This is it. Talking about stacking, there's no stacking in the game. 1 counter per X. Guys, phases of the game. The first phase, first thing we're gonna do is we have to roll 2 dice and check for an event at the start of each turn. If we have a result between 2 and 12, summing, we'll have one of the events. So first turn of the game, we had a 19, so no event. Then we have the order phase. In this phase we consider our cheats here. Always go first, the last player to be demoralized. So, the first turn of the game, Tokugawa goes first. So Tokugawa player need to check the turn marker. We are in turn 1, so it has 1 activation. He has to choose between his cheats over here. So first turn of the game, it will choose to activate the Okayama. We have 3 Okayama formation in the game. This is the dark gray one. So we simply turn the marker just to indicate that we choose that formation to activate. And they are here, not this one in light gray, this in dark gray. These are also Okayama, but they are a different formation. So the Toyotomi faction, check the number here on the morale track, shows a 2, so it has 2 formation. So we would choose one formation first, let's say Sanada, choose to activate the pink one, represented by these 3 units. Orders phase is done, then we have the action phase. In the action phase we can 3 things. We can move and attack, or only move, or only attack, or we can recover. Recover is useful if you have a disorganized unit, which is a unit that took a step loss. We can try to recover it by rolling 2 dice and making a result lesser than their defense unit. In this case a 6. You have a malus for each enemy unit that is adjacent to you, in the form that they give you a +1 on the result per unit, so it's more difficult when you are adjacent to the enemy to recover, obviously. But if you are adjacent of 1 or more leader, you can detract 1 from the results with a maximum of 2, okay? But if you choose to recover, you don't have to take any of the other action, no movement, no attack. So our first turn, we turn this activation marker face up, showing that we already activated that formation. 1, 2, we have to stop because enemy Zox. Let's try to 1, 2, maybe this one here, just to... So let's resolve attack here. We are attacking with 3 units, this lone unit of Ronin. We have to declare 1 unit to attack. In this case we are gonna declare this one to attack the Ronin as a main attacker. That's because they have also guns, if you see the yellow number. Then we declare that these 2 are flanking the attack, are supporting by flanking the attack. We can declare flanking units if those are not in enemy zone of controls. They also must be full strength and not disorganized to support our flanking attack. The bonus is simply getting a +1 on the die roll per unit that is currently flanking, so we have a +2. So we will roll a die and the result is a 6. 6 plus 2 is an 8. 8 is superior to the defense of our target, which is 7. So the attack is effective. When an attack is effective, the defender has 2 options. He can choose to take a step loss or to retreat. What are the difference? If he takes a step loss, we will advance our moral by 1. If he chooses to retreat in an adjacent X, we will advance by 2, because retreat is a thing for cowards. There's no honor in retreating. But since we attacked with guns, with artillery, the opponent will lose 2 morale, either if he take a step loss, because it's a very heavy loss, or if he decided to retreat. So the advantage of gunpowder is to lose 2 morale always. So let's say we want to retreat here, but to retreat we can't finish our retreat in an enemy zone of control. So in this case this unit cannot retreat, so we are forced to take a step loss. So the morale of Tokugawa will go up by 2. And we will flip the marker to see that Toyotomi was the last to be demoralized. But if we choose in the order phase to activate also the Ronin unit over here, this is a bonus unit, guys. They are always activated. We can always move, but in this case, to do this, we had to select the proper counter. This is why they have their counters. If we selected to activate this unit and this unit haven't already done their activation phase, movement and so on, we could have decided to escape from combat. You can do it only with cavalry units. So before enemy rolls for damage and see if the attack is successful, effective, you can try to escape from combat and like retreat moving 1x. You can do this also finishing the movement in a zone of control. But in this case we would lose one morale, only one. But no combat for the enemy. Okay, we are escaping. We can do this in this case because we haven't selected their markers for activating. So we are forced to take loss. This is basically how the combat works. We have also advantages and disadvantages by, for example, attacking across a river without a bridge or attacking on the hills, up to the hills, basic things. We have also disadvantage by attacking units with guns without having a flanking unit to support us. The advantage or disadvantage is a thing in this game. Advantage and disadvantage makes you roll 2 dice, and if you have an advantage you choose the one that is higher, the value higher. If you have disadvantage, the lower. So Toyotomi turns, the Toyotomi will activate the Ronin here. We can activate them without having selected them for activation. They are always free to activate for us. And what we can do is bring this one out of the trouble. For example, we can move here because it's in the same enemy Izok. So then we can move it here in another Izok. You can change Izok, but when you enter another Izok, you have to stop. Then this one here, go 1, 2. So over here, just try to change. So we declare combat one at a time. We declare this one to attack this, because then later we will declare this one to attack this and this because we can't have a flanking with this one, because if we decide to attack with this one is disorganized, so it cannot flank. If we decide to attack with this one cannot flank because it is in an enemy zone of control. Then we have our final attack over here. Just try to attack this leader, see how it goes. We roll a 7. 7 plus 2 is a 9, which is higher than 7. So our choices here are to take a loss, but this is an important leader. They have consequences when they are disorganized. We will explain later. Maybe it's too early to take a loss. We can simply retreat and take 2 morals, but leaders are very important. This is also general, so another 2 morale. You can see in the early phases Toyotomi army can take its way, but then they eventually will be surrounded, I think. Okay, since the enemy has retreated, we can advance after combat. If our faction is high in their track of the morale, it's a mandatory thing. They feel very powerful and they go after the enemy. But in this case, it's at 0, so they have a choice to do. Also, if we are attacking down the hills and we have the possibility to advance after combat, it's mandatory. In this case, let's say no, because this is an important piece. We don't want to be absorbed too much. So, if the Tokugawa player now has another activation, will be that turn, but they don't have it. So we have our 2 activation. We already moved the Ronin, but they are free, and we have our 2 that we selected. Let's say we choose to move the Sanada. Flip the marker. So the Sanada Yukimura's formation start over here, next to this very important axis. This one is the general quarters of the army. If during a turn one piece of the Eastern Army enters one of these axes, the Toyotomi army will instantly lose 2 morals. If they have one piece here and one piece here, they lose 4 morale, 2 morale per axis. We can move 1, 2, 3, 8, 5. This one we will leave it there just to protect. So let's declare our attacks. This one first. It's a 4 plus 2. We have to reach 5, so the attack is effective. They don't want to lose 2 morale, so that they decided to just accept the loss and eliminate the unit. We will see also in the end phase of a turn, that the Tokugawa army unit that are eliminated will have a chance to come back. This is just to represent that the army was a lot superior in number than the Toyotomi one. So we have a +1, and since the moral is positive, we are forced to advance. Then we have our combat here. We also have +1 for flanking, so they just accept the step loss. Notice here we reach a box with a counter. This one will enter by the Tokugawa. His position here, and in a later turn, if we activate this formation, it will enter this hex over here. The most important thing to notice is that their leader is over here, and they are considered in common range also if the leader is not present, as long as they are between 8 axes of this X over here. So the Toyotomi side has another activation to do, and they have the pink. It is the clan Otani. So this unit is disorganized. When a unit is disorganized, they lose their zone of control. It can be a good opportunity to try to reach this leader and maybe inflict a loss. It's a risk, but Toyotomi side, I think they need to take risks. The numbers of the Tokugawas are overwhelming. They need to punch and risk, and need to take out the leaders to have some chances, but unfortunately we don't have enough movement, so we can have here our attack. This one cannot flank because they already have their combat and movement activation this turn. But if, for example, this one that, if you remember, has advanced after combat, this one after advancing after combat, you can flank, participate in a flanking, even if they already have done their movement and combat this turn. The important thing is that they met the 2 conditions for flanking: not in an enemy Ezok others than the target, and not disorganized. Okay, so let's have our attack here. So the action phase is done, and our play sequence is to check eventually for a raid in Ieyasu camp that you make if some units of the Western Army exited the edge of the map in this section X over there, and you basically roll and check in this table the results. Okay, the last step of the game is the reorganization phase, and this step is performed by the Tokugawa player. First, if they have a disorganized unit not in enemy Izok and in command range of their leaders, for example, you can notice this leader has a small number up here, it's a 3. If is in combat range and is not in enemy Izok, like for example if this one would be here in range of this, they automatically recover. The other thing to do is if you have some eliminated units like this one, it could come back. You need to check. So, for example, unfortunately, the only loss is this one. The organization phase, you can put on the map one of your eliminated units. Unfortunately, for the Tokugawa player, they only have this one. This one is a special unit. They don't have the captain, they don't have a leader, a general, a samurai, so they can recover or be reorganized and put on the board. But for example, if this one was eliminated, if they have one of their general on the board, it can bring back any number of the eliminated units if they are not disorganized themselves. If they are disorganized themselves, they will bring back only one unit. To bring back one unit, you simply take the unit, you put on its disorganized side, on its weaker side, in an X adjacent to the samurai, their leader, and it must be not in a enemy zone of control. So you can see it's very important to take out leaders for the Toyotomi. I would like to remark that if you take out enemy samurai general, that for the Tokugawa side they all have important leader captains, while the Toyotomi side only has important samurai generals, because they don't have the name in red like the Tokugawa. If they eliminate one of these generals, the victory goal becomes one step easier, okay, per enemy leaders. Also, all of the units of their formation become disorganized, and if it's a captain that is one with the red, the name in red color, Tokugawa side, they don't have it, the Toyotomi don't have it. You also, if already disorganized, they are also removed. Okay? That's basically how the game works. Guys, I think it's very nice, it's funny, it's fast, but it offers eventually different layers of strategy and choices. I enjoy playing it, it's a good action counter game, nice quality. I hope you like this video. I will continue my game now. See you for other games. Until the next time, have a good one. Bye.